asshole, but here we are. So we're in here. We're doing this.
Good evening, everyone, and after a slightly prolonged absence, it's time for another episode of Beginner Breakdowns. You may notice that our usual co-host Encore is out. He's taking a bit of a break for his own health and sanity, and that's all well and good. So in his place tonight, you have just me, as usual, KZA, with guest Seth Series, as represented over there by a wonderful picture of Ike.
Hey y'all, I'm not Encore, but I came here to teach these kids. We're gonna break down what might be the biggest blow up we've had on this like subreddit and Discord. Woof.
Indeed, yeah. So for those of you who did not get a chance to see this live, this was a grudge match between two of our higher ranked Discord players. Uh, our man, our man with the plan with the Abigail, extra slick, and an old veteran of the channel, Renzel Guns, playing Dictator.
Hey, put some respect with his name. Like, he is the greatest bison who ever lived.
Sure,
We've
we'll go
got to
with that.
give this man some props.
We'll go with that. So, uh, what we're going to focus on primarily tonight is because the reason I wanted to do this over some of your user submissions, which we still greatly appreciate. Please send more submissions to the email address at nch.beginner.breakdowns@gmail.com whenever you have time. It was that Abigail is still kind of a new character. A lot of people are still very confused consistently in the coaching channels about what he can do and how he does it. So we're hoping tonight to lift the veil on that a little bit, give you a better idea on how to deal with Abigail, especially those who are struggling to deal with his run mix-up, his reach, and his ability to get Oki off some of his throws. So with that said, we'll just go ahead and get started, and we may not make it through the entire first to 10, but we're just going to keep stopping and pointing out what's going on. And one thing, as someone who watched this live, I guarantee you will see a ton of is run mix-ups, which are hilarious.
Oh man, whew. It's time to watch some disgusting Abigail play. Shoutouts to our good friend Mount Lover for showing up and doing commentary for this impromptu murder session.
Alright, so while they kind of open up here, obviously Abigail's big, that means he's got a lot of reach. His run has a hit of armor on it, which is what just got Renzel, so that's the first run mix-up of the game.
He also put him in a bit of a bad situation with that whiffed anti-air there, too.
Another run mix-up, another hit of armor, so you're probably asking yourself right now, a lot of you have probably fallen for that. What do I do about that? Like, what do I do about that armor? And the answer is the same as everything else. Either hit him twice or throw him. Ironically, he's really vulnerable to throws, except when he does his own throw. Because as a note, that throw is throw invincible, as I found out to my extreme shock when I got nailed by it as Zangief.
Yeah, so for all of our Ryu players, Solar Plexus Strike is going to be a really good option to shut that down. Akuma's overhead, Akuma's back heavy punch. Anything that's just a quick 2 hits should be able to at least kind of give you the ability to put that run in its place.
The other thing you definitely want to do about that run is neutral jump. So that's a thing, if you could hear Mount Lover's commentary right now, he is constantly yelling at Renzel Guns to start neutral jumping that, and Renzel Guns is not, and he is paying for it every time. It is a very neutral jumpable move. All 3 attack options out of it can be beaten by a solid neutral jump because they stop being armored the moment the attack starts, and you can usually beat them out with a heavy jump in. But as you can see, Renzel didn't realize that and got completely clowned on that first round.
So just a heads up for me, it started buffering it just jumped to 543 for me. It had been buffering on my side.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate reality of dealing with trying to sync videos across streams. It never quite works right. So let's rewind a little bit anyway, because I want to go over a couple moments here in more detail. We usually do something on general comedy or so. This is a good moment at 4:18. So he gets the throw.
Should it be okay?
And
So,
yet Renzel throws him out of it. So that is not actually something you should do. Abigail does in fact get some Oki after that throw. He just hesitated and let Renzel get that in. I just wanted to note that because in case you're watching this and thinking, hey, I can just do that. Don't do that. It's not a good idea.
Throw on wake up is usually never a good idea.
Yeah, one almost wonders if he was going for a late tech and fucked up.
I'd probably, I'd be willing to bet on that. But, trying to throw on wake up is a really good way to eat a crush counter and just get lit up.
Yeah, from the Twitch chat, Officer TJ Hooker says, yikes, right away you can tell Renzo doesn't know the matchup at all, and that's exactly why I wanted to go over this, because Abigail is a matchup you win or lose on matchup knowledge, much like a lot of the other grapplers. So this is why we wanted to go over Abigail tonight, and we hope this will really help some of y'all who are struggling against those crazy, gold, silver Abigails doing runs after runs after runs, or throws after throws after throws. Alright, so let's move on to the next match, by which I mean I'm going to skip forward a little bit. There we go. Alright, let me know if this buffers or works.
Give me 1 second. I'm actually... Never mind. I was going to pop the chat. Okay. Okay. Never mind. Go ahead and keep going.
Alright, so here's round 2. So, Renzo's had a round to feel his opponent out, but he still slides right into that mix-up. So, again...
I mean, and that just wake up slide that's incredibly ballsy.
Yeah, so honestly, I would say this is a pretty bad matchup for Dictator because Abigail has a lot of options for parrying or armoring through slow, heavy moves, which are Dictator's bread and butter.
There's also the fact that, Dictator in general struggles with grapplers. The Laura matchup for Dictator is very much in Laura's favor. I can't speak for Geef, but...
Geef's favor.
Yeah, but he does not do very well against running, command grabs.
So I want to pause there and go back slightly, because that is something you've really got to watch out for against Abigail, the tick run. So he gets the first run, and then meaty tick, and immediately does that. That is not real at all. The moment you see him go into that run, jump. You can react to it, I promise. It's not that fast. So, what you're seeing a lot of here is Renzel failing to react to those runs at all. And,
Slick is just running, to borrow, poor wording, he is just running on the fact that his armor hits are stopping any of Renzel's pressure. We're seeing a little bit of, pushback, but at the end of this is a scramble. Renzel is, coming in, he's trying to change the pressure in his favor, which wins him this round, but at the same time, he's not... It's only going to take him so far. So we saw right here, just that big jump in, there wasn't an anti-air attempt, and that jump in just cost him half life at the start of the last round. And even then, it's more than that. There's no respect. We're looking here. There's no respect for any of the Oki.
Okay. I'm gonna pause on that teabag because what Seth said.
We're respectful.
Yeah, so I want to let Seth keep going there because that's a big thing against Abigail. Speaking from the perspective of Geef, Abigail's Oki is good, but not as good as Geef, or I would honestly say it's about on par with Laura's. Do you agree with that?
So, Laura's Oki is really weird, especially since 2.5 nerfed her Oki options a little bit. But, so realistically, I think Abigail may actually have a little bit better Oki options than Laura, just because a lot of Laura's stuff kind of hinges on, are you getting... They're two sides of the same coin, but I think that Abigail just has a little bit more options His options are a little bit faster. Like, once you see that run coming, you're immediately in a panic mode just because he's already in there. He's already got options. A good Abigail, which I haven't seen it yet, and it's probably because there was no need to, but, like, Hungaby run into the big flip that he does. I'm not 100% sure what it's called. Like, there's a lot of options. Laura's Oki definitely took a bit of a hit for season 2.5, so I would say I definitely would think that Abigail's is maybe a little bit better than hers in this situation.
Yeah. So the point is that like the other grapplers, you do have to understand what he's doing on your wake up and try to and respect it. So you have to hold that mix up and be willing to risk the neutral jump or just sitting there and blocking, and be ready for the tick run or the tick throw. And one thing Renzel completely fails to do this entire set, and that costs him a lot of life every time, is he fails to respect the Oki. He is always trying to hit a button or late tech
He's
or
panicking.
otherwise.
He is panicking every time because he doesn't know this matchup. So he's throwing out random buttons. He's throwing out everything that he can to. He's fishing for options, and each option he fishes for kicks. Like, each option he fishes for kicks him a third of his life. Like, Abigail is not a low damage character. Abigail hits like a truck, and for good reason. Like, so every time Renzel is not respecting any bit of this pressure or any bit of this Oki, he pays for it.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's pretty much the end of this round. So as this round finishes here, let's talk about what Renzel should be doing. And so, what could Renzel do to win this matchup? Well, for one, obviously, he needs to work on his defense, as we discussed. The other, I feel, is how do you perform offense against Abigail? What do you think?
I think the best counter to Abigail's offense is to keep your pressure going. So, like, Abigail is really scary as he's coming at you, and once he starts, he's kind of hard to stop. Like, especially compared to the other grapplers, he's got range. Like, his stuff is slower than, say, Guy or Laura, but he's got the range to back it up. And some of his stuff, especially crouching light punch, it's a really good move, and it's got a lot of range.
Yeah, so actually that was a good thing to be talking about right there. So that was an instance right there where Renzel got some offense going for a little bit. So kind of post here. Let's watch a little bit and see what Renzel does. So he gets the flips, and then he immediately starts pressure with his good plus buttons, and then gets baited out by the EX run, which has 2 hits of armor, by the way, which is why he used it there as a sort of pseudo reversal.
I mean, the other thing too is, like, you can watch Renzel. He's not, like, there's a lack of neutral game here too, just from, like, he doesn't respect the fact that Slick has meter at all. Like, he is just mashing his way through trying to stop it, and so every time this happens, he gets lit up with, an EX run, EX throw. Like, he is just he's just unwilling to, like, adapt or slow down.
Oof, the perfect. So, yeah, like most grapplers, to beat Abigail, you have to combine a certain level of patience with a willingness to go in hard when you have the opportunity. And I think on both fronts, the big thing that happens here is because he doesn't know the matchup, Renzel hesitates on both. He defends in a panic, and then he hesitates on the attack. So let's watch that in action in this match for a little bit here. So he's on the attack, gets the Inferno, gets the knockdown, does the double dash for some reason. He's got an offense going here, so what is he going to do to throw it away? Drops the combo.
Yeah, so we're definitely seeing that. So, like, the other side of this that I'm looking at, too, is, like, the pressure here we're seeing is great because Abigail's fastest button is a crouching light kick, and it's a 4-frame button. His jab is 5 frames. Crouching light punch is a good button. It's got a lot of range, and it's +3, but it's a 6-frame move. Like, his standing medium punch is 9 frames. Like,
So for
All
those
of
of you
his
who may be watching this who don't really understand frame data, which we understand that it's a thing that you kind of got to wrap your head around. The fastest move in the game is 3 frames, or well, unless you count the 1 frame supers and the 1 frame parries. But that's a different topic. So for someone to have their fastest move be 4 frames is already a disadvantage, and for them to have their second fastest or third fastest moves be 6 frames is a huge disadvantage. That's one of the things that, for example, makes Fang kind of bad, because Fang doesn't get a lot of conversions off anything faster than 6 frames. And Abigail is very similar. He doesn't really get anything off of anything that's faster than 6 frames. So what that means is basically he's very slow, which means that if you are on the offense against him, he doesn't get a lot of opportunity to do things.
So I know that I mentioned frame data and stuff. So like, this is just kind of a general like baseline example. Ryu's standing light punch is 3 frames. It's a very fast move. Like, so some of Abigail's basic normals, his lights are twice as slow as Ryu's. Just for kind of like baseline comparison here.
Yeah, so the fact that Renzel is unable to consistently take advantage of that, because Bison loves punishing big slow moves, is probably because he's unfamiliar with the timing and the matchup. He's giving Slick too much respect in that front. He has to be willing to do the Bison thing and hit a big button at him, and he hasn't been able to do that consistently, either because he's out of range or because he does it too late.
And the other part about that too is like Abigail is a character with big range buttons. A lot of Bison's buttons are going to be faster than Abigail's, but Abigail does have a range advantage, and Bison does want to be in.
All right, so as we go to round 2 of this 4th match, opens up the EXL was reversed. That's a good one on Abigail, by the way, because Abigail doesn't have a good counter to someone directly above him like that, and because he's tall, it actually hits sooner. Finally, solid backdash and attempted punish on the run, but completely whiffs it. Again, he's dropping combos, which usually means you're nervous. You've got to stay calm against grapplers.
We're seeing that too, and like we're seeing this backdash, and then we see Slick kind of adapt to that, to where for the run he does try to catch the backdash on that.
Actually, real quick, let's talk about something we just saw there. So V-Trigger Abigail. This is actually a major part of what makes Abigail very dangerous. Oops, I'm buffering. There we go. So V-Trigger. So big things about V-Trigger. Dang it.
Standing heavy punch, Abigail can charge it, and fully charged is guard break.
Yep, it breaks guards. It can also start reflecting projectiles, and several of his parry moves get, I believe, a second hit, though I had to double check that. He also just generally, gets, I think, more combo ability off a couple of things. It's a very, very good V-Trigger. But the major thing to watch out for is that unblockable setup. When she's charging heavy punch in V-Trigger, that hit will break your guard. The good thing is it scales super heavily, so sometimes it's actually better to just take it. But if he's just sitting there charging heavy punch, don't be there. Get out of the way.
I was gonna say, you can like a lot of the things we've discussed, neutral jump should let him get out of that, correct?
Yes, because it hits pretty low. But you have to, anticipate it.
Yeah.
So that was just wake up super there. So just for those of you watching in the lower ranks, that never stops happening. You always got to watch out for it.
The moment you don't expect it or you stop respecting it is when someone's going to nail you.
That's just more of a general note, but that definitely does not stop happening.
And eventually, the thing you got to remember about that too is like, if they have full meter, or if they have meter at all on Oki, for most characters, you are not safe. Like, your Oki option can get blown up if you do not pay attention.
Yeah, so meter management. That's a big thing as you get higher, watching both your meter and what the opponent has. The open round sweep, again, that's not a thing I would recommend in this matchup. Abigail has a lot of things that deal with it.
He started with it. Like, there's like a little bit of a disrespect here, but I feel like it's also stemmed from panic.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell the difference sometimes. So Renzel's working on a stun here. His offense is working. This is what you want to do against Abigail. For some reason, he just jumps and lets him out. Do not do that. When you've got Abigail or Zangief or Laura in the corner like that, that's exactly where you want them to be. Keep them there. Because one thing almost all the grapplers share, actually I think all the grapplers share, unless you want to count someone like Macaulay, is that they don't have a strong invincible reversal.
Yeah. So like Geef doesn't have a strong invincible reversal. Laura can hedge a bet on EX elbow, but it will get her killed. Like,
yeah, that's what I think. That's the armor on EX elbow doesn't start till frame 3, I think.
So you can jab it out before it starts.
Yeah, and similarly, Zangief can make a big bet on EX SPD if you're going for a meaty throw, but that's about it.
Yeah.
So once you've got them in the corner, you've got to maintain that pressure on them. Like, I know it's scary because you're always worried, oh, what if they get me back? But if you don't do that, it's giving them all the more opportunity to get you back. And Abigail's especially bad for that because his combat potential is huge. In V-Trigger, he does a ton of damage. In general, he does a ton of damage. You don't want to give him that chance.
Like, Abigail compensates from the fact that he is slow as all get out with the fact that he hits harder than any character in the cast.
Like right here, watch this guy's. That's two normals and a single EX special, and that's what do you say? That's 30%.
I'll round up and say that's 30%.
That's not even like. I think there's a way you can even combo that further for a little bit more damage, but he didn't go for it because he didn't need it. Like, you've got to respect that damage potential. That means smothering it in the crib as much as you can. It's the same principle as dealing with everyone's other favorite, noob crusher, Balrog. Or Boxer, for those of you watching from non-US realms.
Mm.
So again, backs him in the corner but lets him out. You cannot do that. You've got to, keep those slow buttons suppressed. And Bison's really good at that, so I'm like, one big disappointment from Renzel here is that he never managed to keep that going.
I mean, a lot of his pressure is coming from like long range button. Just you see it multiple times throughout this set. Like, he'll go for a longer range, poke to try to keep his distance and get blown up by armor.
Yeah, you like, as counterintuitive as it is against almost all the grapplers, including Abigail, the best place to be is right on top of them, pressuring them with plus buttons.
Like, it's what a lot of people don't understand is like grapplers operate off fear, but you're supposed to be afraid of them, but they do have to pay for what they get. Like, command grab heavy characters and grapplers do have to suffer. Like, Geef has slow buttons, Laura has stubby normals. Each of them has like a pretty significant drawback that makes it to where once you can stop them, like once you stop the pressure and start your own, if you can keep it going, like, they don't have a good option to stop pressure.
Yeah, so one of the big mistakes Renzel makes strategically in this whole thing is generally being too happy on the retreat. He always wants to back off and use those long-range buttons, which is exactly what Slick is waiting for. Because
the other part about this, too, is, like, Slick is in his head this entire time. Like, he's using crushing buttons. He's using very dangerous... Like, some of the stuff that he's doing is just... Like, it's... I don't like using the term online tactics, but he's getting away with a lot. And he's picked up that he's getting away with a lot, so he's going to keep going with it.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's a tip for those of you trying to win online too. If something is working, as I've said before on this broadcast, if something is working, keep doing it. There's no reason to change.
If they don't respect it, don't respect them. There is no such thing as like honorable or fair play in this. You do what you do to win.
Like, you want to play to learn, so don't do something that's just, going to hinder your own learning. But if you're using a tactic and you're practicing it and you're doing it right and your opponent keeps losing to it, there's no reason to change until they stop losing to it. And that's what I think Slick figures out pretty early on here, as maintained through this whole set, is that every time he's won something, he just keeps doing it, because why not? And which is why you never see him stop using the runs. You never see him stop disrespecting Renzel on wake up. You never see him stop baiting those long buttons, because Renzel never stops falling for it.
I mean, the other side of that too is just like, he's tilted. So a big thing that like we don't talk about a lot, and a big thing that is really important, especially at higher level Street Fighter, is like your mental fortitude and like your mental attitude. And so this entire time he has been disrespecting Renzel. He's been using scrub tactics. He knows that he's in his head and it doesn't matter. He can get away with whatever he wants. His opponent is too spooked to know what's going on. And realistically, there's a point after game 5 where Renzel probably is just accepting the defeat in his head. Like we're seeing a lot of like scrambles, a lot of panic moments. Like, Slick is using the grappler mindset. He has gotten his opponent mad. He has gotten his opponent scared. He has gotten to a point to where his opponent is like, to where he has conditioned him to do these things, and Renzel hasn't like tried to condition back. He's not shown that he's learned anything. So right here, we're not seeing any wake up pressure options. We're not seeing any attempt to stop these. Like, this is a dash up command grab, and it's just happening. No, like, any grappler, you can blow them up. Like,
yeah, like there are, as far as I know, only Zangief really gets anything off dash up after a command grab. Almost all the other grapplers, I think Mika maybe can get it off Brimstone. I think Abigail has it in the corner, but for the most part, they're making a bet.
Yeah, like every time after a knockdown with Laura, my dash up command grab is usually like, if I'm doing it, I'm not respecting you. If you're letting me do it, I'm going to keep doing it until you give me a reason not to.
And, so Renzel is just, the big thing that keeps killing him is he's not aware of what he can do on the defense, which means he's over-respecting some things, and then somehow he manages to disrespect exactly the wrong thing every time, gets counter-hit. Which, again, that's partially a lack of matchup knowledge, and partially just, letting himself play Slick's game. He's not playing Bison. He's trying
to counter a character he doesn't know and is getting blown up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
so like you heard Mount just say it, like, we straight whiffed. Abigail Punch is unsafe in to my knowledge, every version. I'll do a frame data check, but I'm more than willing to assume that it is.
Yeah, I'm fairly certain you're right. I think there's like I want to say EXV trigger or something like that. That might be a little bit safer. But
I'm looking at it right now. Abigail Punch is, every version of Abigail Punch is unsafe. And it's not like normal unsafe. Like, every single version is minus 16 and EX is minus 23. Like, that is, I'm looking at Bison right now, and, every single one of Bison has, like, all of his normals. Any button he could have used would have blown that up.
Yeah, and so I think
he could have, from that moment, he could have easily started something.
I think the overall lesson here, then, pretty much, if you want to kind of sum it up, Seth, is that against characters like Abigail, Zangief, Laura, knowing the matchup is pretty much vital above about, silver or so when people stop doing the obvious dumb stuff constantly, because they depend on you making mistakes a lot to let themselves get started, and the more you don't know what they're doing, the more of those mistakes you're going to make.
I'm platinum on both my accounts. Like, there is a wealth of people who do not understand how to fight these grapplers, even at that level. So, one of the big things about that is, like, so when we talk about, like, ranking up, and I want to throw this disclaimer out, rank does not matter. Like, don't look at ranked as a way to fight better and better people, not an assessment of your own skill. So, like, rookie to bronze, I'd say rookie to start a silver is just like, do you know how to do your buttons? Do you know how to do B&Bs? Like, really basic. Like, you can get all the way up to gold just by knowing your combos and knowing a little bit of how to punish stuff. Getting through gold is learning to mitigate offense. And I'd say getting from platinum to diamond is matchup knowledge. And so the more that, like, especially at these lower ranks, that we see stuff like that, so we see gimmicks, like, that matchup knowledge is learning how to blow up gimmicks. And even Renzel, who is super platinum, is getting blown up by them. He and I played a set today, and, he can blame lag, he can blame whatever.
Himself or God.
Yeah. He ate dash up throws. He ate tick throws. He ate, like, I ran every Dirty Laura trick in the book over, 4 rounds. And just there was never a respect. Like, there was never any attempt to bust any gimmicks.
Yeah. So, at the levels a lot of y'all are still playing at, Abigail is made of gimmicks. He's going to do his runs. He's going to charge those heavy punches. He's going to, do fake Oki a lot. So what you have to do against him is learn what his actual real stuff is and how to punish the stuff that isn't. So run, like I said, if you have a 2-hit quick move or like a target combo or something like that, hit it fast. Otherwise, neutral jumping is generally a strong tactic. As he gets close, it will cause 2 out of the 3 to almost certainly whiff, and the last one to whiff sometimes, or get caught by your neutral jump attack. And then you get a full combo because you've counter hit him or hit him out of a neutral jump. The only option he has out of his run on the defensive side is he can, during the start of the run, he can reverse into the back roll. That's exactly what you want. You want to back Abigail up into the corner and pressure him. So you don't see it a lot, and it's really, honestly, it's good for you. You want him to back up and back himself away from you. So, don't respect the run. If you see the run, think pretend it's Zangief running bear grab. You see the hands, you jump.
And even that, like, looking at this, like, Abigail does have an option to deal with jump in this, but, which would you prefer? Do you want to take that knockdown where he doesn't have as many options? Like, if Abigail does the run into the flip, to my knowledge, like, he doesn't have the same Oki that he gets if he grabs you.
I'm pretty sure you're right. And additionally, that the flip, the hitbox on that's actually pretty low, as I recall. So a lot of the time you'll end up going over it on accident.
Neutral jump, heavy kick. You've punished it, like, and you get a free combo starting off a heavy button, which is a lot of damage.
And you need to get that damage to keep up with Abigail, because much like the complaints about Zangief, it's the same thing. If he catches you, you get a ton of damage. But to catch you, he has to take a risk, and so if you're not punishing the risks, of course he's going to win.
So, like, just for reference, like, let's take Akuma. So Abigail does his run. You do neutral jump, standing heavy kick. Neutral jump, standing handy kick. You come down, standing heavy kick, standing medium kick, V skill kick, light Tatsu into DP. A very basic Akuma BMB. That's 360 damage. No V trigger, no V trigger, no meter. He just ate that because he took a risk. You chose right. You didn't respect that risk. You came down, you did the damage. That's a third of Abigail's life bar off one mistake.
Yeah, the biggest wins I've gotten against Abigail's in the limited amount of time I personally played a game with Zangief was getting those neutral jump punishes with Zangief's jumping headbutt, because it's actually pretty easy to hit Abigail with it. Big hitbox means that I can actually catch him much higher in the jump arc than I can other characters, which lets me get these huge stun combos off of a solid neutral jump read.
And even with Laura, Laura can neutral jump, tick throw, can neutral jump, come down, do a throw. You can start a tick throw. You can do neutral jump, standing, or neutral jump, jump medium kick, standing medium kick, standing light punch, light elbow, and start, go ahead and start the blender.
Yeah. So, general tip there for people watching this, learn your jump in combos, learn your neutral jump punish combos, get those down, because those are the key to beating a lot of these characters that you feel like you're having trouble with, because, Laura whiffing command throw, Zangief whiffing command throw, Abigail whiffing command throw, even doing something like jumping over Urian's headbutt or something like that can be neutral jump punished. So you have to be able to react to that, though the headbutt's a little harder. It's only happened to me twice. That's one of the tools you really need in your arsenal to get large amounts of damage to people, is being ready and willing to use neutral jump punishes. Of which I believe in all of these matches against Slick, I don't think Renzel gets a proper one once. Okay, so here's a good situation again. He's got him in the corner, but he throws it away on an unsafe slide.
Especially before that slide, he's dropping basic combos. He's dropping he knows the situation he's in. Slick doesn't have to be scared, because at this point he's already Slick had this won after his 5th win in a row.
Yeah, so see, he's getting safe pressure, and then he decides to go for a really pointlessly unsafe gamble, and then Slick takes it all the way back with Abigail's big comeback potential.
We're seeing Renzel loves his his slide, and it's getting him the thing after 8 matches in a row of losing, he still hasn't understood that once he gives up his turn, especially if he gives up his turn in a way that can be punished, that's a third of his life bar gone. Every single one of these matches has usually has for the most part been 20 to 30 seconds. They're quick. These are blowouts.
Yeah, and the note I want to definitely make there is that when you have someone in safe offense, there's no reason to go into unsafe offense for any reason outside of trying to extend it. And there's a lot of situations here where Guns pointlessly backs off and then does something unsafe. And it's why? You had him in safe pressure. You were still in range to continue safe pressure. He was respecting your safe pressure.
Even then, another thing, just watching this, I don't think Slick has done a V reversal at all.
He did one in the very first game. Remember that? Because Renzel made a funny noise on the original stream.
Yeah. So, of this entire time, Slick has never given Renzel, he's never like given Renzel like a concern that his pressure that like he may get V reversal. Like he's never given Renzel like a reason to stop pressuring him, especially with some of this safe bison pressure.
Okay, so actually, I want to make a special note right there. So, sorry, rewinding slightly.
Okay.
Okay, so right here, gets out there, gets a crush counter, and then completely drops it. Like, come on. Easiest combo in the game. And again, he's got him in the corner, gets the second crush counter, teabags himself, goes for this. And I want to say right here, I mean, I can't remember if he gets this round or if this is another one where, yeah, see, he does that.
Like, so go back. Like, I want to detail every like bit of what just happened. And I want to like break this down from a mind point. So here is a person who is 9-0 out of a 10-0. Has dropped numerous combos. Is, still has like, this is a point I really want to make out to like, especially some of the newer players, like, clean your plate. Absolutely clean your plate. Like, this is a situation where he still has, at minimum, if he had won this, he still has at least a minimum of one more game to win, to play. And, he takes this moment, he throws away a guaranteed win. Like, Renzel's, Slick is not on the magic pixel, but a light punch is going to kill him. And what happens here? What does Renzel do? He teabags, he drops his combo, he tries a really bad meaty. He's just sitting there, crouched, mashing standing light kick, thinking he's going to get it. Slick does a neutral jump, and, let's see what happens.
Comeback potential. That's what happens.
Yeah. So he still takes this round, but, like, it's just...
If Slick hadn't... If Slick had made a slightly different decision there, it would have been his round again. Renzel was one mix-up away from death. And he didn't have
he was more than one mix-up away from death. Like, it was command throw. Like, it should have been command throw and then just gone. Like, it could have been anything and just gone. Like, we've seen in this set Slick get that guard break and just... We've seen that guard break and then we've seen damage. Like, all he had to do was chain that into, EX Abigail punch, and then it's done. It's absolutely done. He has the Oki, he has everything to do, he has every single way of getting in and pressuring and threatening him, and it's just like, he took a point in a set where he is 9 games out. So, I stress this a lot, especially with some of our newer players, like, you've got to use your head, and you've got to be in a good mood. You've got to be smart about some things. Like, there was, under no circumstances should that have come that close. Renzel was a third of his health bar up. Slick was stunned, like, just... There is no amount of mental damage he could have done with that teabag that would have made up for being 9-0, 0-9 at that point. It's just at this point, it's just, like... It makes you really wonder what's going through his head.
And, that's a thing to note, especially for those of you who are playing, a lot of you, I've seen a lot of complaints of people running into the same people in ranked all the time. Trust me, they're not going to change their tactics, especially if they're beating you with them. So if you see the same guy again, don't think, oh no, it's this guy, he beat me last time. Try to remember what he beat you with and do something about it. Because I guarantee you, each and every one of you can. You are capable. Your character has something to deal with that situation, even if it is just blocking and waiting it out. But if you don't think about it that way, you're going to lose to the same thing again every time.
All right, let's watch this. Let's watch this nightmare finish. So here we go again. Slick gets a free run. He's starting it again. We finally, after 9 games, we finally see Renzel jump back from a run. At this point, like, he's gotten a little bit of confidence. He thought his teabag was effective, and here comes Slick. Like,
yeah, catches him in a really unsafe little bison trick there. Finally gets hit by the slide. I think it's only the second slide that's connected this whole match. And so here's a point where he's like, uh-oh, Renzel might actually finally get a game. Well, again, remember Abigail's huge damage potential?
Here we go.
See, he tries to go for... So, I want to know what happened there, because that's important. So right here... Oh, a little further back. So right here, gets that big EX double armor, gets through, gets this, Bison tries to parry that. So Bison does have a parry. It's not a very good parry, but it's there.
It's a projectile parry. It's a projectile parry.
It does actually work on normals too, but he mistimed it and it got him killed.
I know it works on normals, but like that's what it should be. Like he should be It's way better to do it for projectiles than it is trying to do normals.
Yeah. So instead of trying to interrupt the charging heavy punch in any way by, for example, neutral jumping it, he tried to parry it and it got him killed because he got the timing wrong. And what I want to say is...
I was going to say, look, wake up Abigail punch, because he's not using any meaty pressure. He's not, here it goes.
Yeah, these last 2 rounds are like the biggest demonstration of what keeps happening here. See, tried to throw that and was out of range.
Yeah.
Slick knows when to disrespect Renzel, and Renzel does not know how to deal with it or when to disrespect Slick. Renzel, for whatever reason, never thinks his way through the matchup. He doesn't consider what has beat him for the last 9 straight games and do something about it. Instead, he continues to use the same tactics.
He never adapted. Like, we saw very little adaptation in that last game. And the only reason we saw that is because he started to feel himself after coming close to a win. And it's just like, it's... like I said, I'm at this point where it's just like, not only has Renzel's mental attitude beaten him, the only reason he got himself into this mess is because he decided to come in here, disrespect people, and someone who very clearly, like... So, for anyone who's in the Discord, I'm sure you've probably seen one Slick talk about how bad he is. Slick is a hell of a player. Like, he took 7th in this most recent, our Street Fighter tournament, and that's usually a pretty stacked bracket. There are some good people in that tournament. And Renzel runs his mouth off, and then not annoyed, but doesn't learn a single thing from it. Like, when I talk to my newer players, and when I talk to you all about your attitudes, like, I'm not trying to beat you over this head, and I'm not trying to tell you to, like, think better. I'm telling you this because, like, a destructive attitude is part of why Renzel got 10-0'd. Like, a destructive mindset is why this happened. And it's just, like, it's toxic behavior, and it's just, it's frustrating. Like, there are so many, like, and especially for someone who, I'm just going to throw this out there, I don't think that Renzel is a bad player by any means. I want to disrespect him because I think he's a garbage human, but, like, he's not a bad player. Like, there were a couple of sets where he could have taken it, where he could have come back, where he could have been better, where he could have, like, started to turn the tide, and he just didn't. And we saw it in Game 9, where he decides to teabag, where he decides to try to do some of that mental damage, not realizing that he could have won that match, and he was not coming back from this. And, like, that's why when we come in and we tell you guys, listen, you've got to work on your attitude, listen, you've got to think about this differently, we're not trying to tell you that, like, we're not trying to tell you this because, like, we're tired of hearing people complain about oh, this is spammy. Oh, this is this. Like, we're trying to help you because like having that better mindset is going to help learn to better yourselves and to keep a better mind when you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I want to say, personally, my summations from this whole thing were two things. Well, okay, kind of three. One of them can be kind of split. Know your matchups. If you're facing an unfamiliar matchup, play cautiously. Try to figure out what they're doing. Try to figure out where the holes are. Keep your head. That applies what Seth just said about keeping your attitude right and trying to learn from every decision, including losing. And also just generally trying to remember what you're doing and not panicking and dropping combos when you finally get something. And finally, get your execution down so that even when you're panicking, when you're in that kind of scramble, when you're not sure what you can get, your fingers do the work and automatically get something that isn't 10%, it's at least 20% or 30%. They get that combo out there even when you in your head are still going, what the heck did I just do?
And even then, at some points, like some of that stuff is like incredibly. I play Laura. No matter what, I can do standing medium kick, standing light kick, light elbow, and that is like deeply beat into my being. For for Shoto players, and you should always be able to do low forward fireball. You should always be able to do low forward Tatsu. Like, even the small things still give you have your thing that works.
All right. Any other closing thoughts? We've made it all the way through the set, and we certainly appreciate those of you who stuck through it. I know it was a little repetitive in some ways, but we wanted to really break this one down because of we've gotten a lot of requests to deal with Abigail, Laura, Zangief in general, grapplers overall. And
I was going to say, like, the reason I'm here in New Challenger is because I am here to teach people how to fight Laura. And I even offered to teach Renzel how to fight Laura. I've offered to do sets with him. But his mouth his mouth and his attitude have kept him from learning. And that's why we're here talking to you and trying to, like, tell you that, like, hey, your mental attitude is important. Because if you immediately write off a character, you're never going to learn things. Every character's cheap. Every character has dumb nonsense that works.
Except maybe Alex.
Except maybe even Alex has some. Much like everyone else, Alex has his run-up command throws. Like we've all. Anyway. Every character has shenanigans. Every character has something. Every character has scrub tactics. When I say something like that, I'm not saying that because only scrubs do them. I mean they're tactics meant to prey on players who don't know how to handle them. They're risky gambles that have huge payoff that are kind of hard to understand how it happens. But once you understand how it works and once you understand how to beat it, those are situations that those scrub tactics are ways for you to blow up and turn the match in your favor.
All right. Appreciate it, everybody. Especially big thanks to Seth Series for coming out tonight and helping me run this stream. Shouts to Encore wherever he is. Hope everything's going well for him. And we are in the process of rearranging the stream a little bit, getting a new time, new bat channel maybe, and getting beginner breakdowns back on a regular schedule while we reshuffle some staff. Seth may become a permanent fixture, or we might start rotating. You may even see me drop out once in a while, especially since it's become the busy season for me. So, but we will be committed. What won't change is that we will be showing beginner breakdowns. We'll continue to talk about the matchups you want us to see, the matchups that give people trouble, and we'll continue to try to give you good advice on what you want to do as a new player and as a growing player to get better. We still really appreciate you sending your replays in to NCH beginner breakdowns at gmail.com. so keep them coming. Today was a special episode, but you can use more replays. Always will get more value out of what you guys need to know about your specific play. And please follow us on Twitch and Twitter and join the Discord if you haven't. Be here, work with us, and we will do our absolute best to make you the best players we can. And that if that means you start beating us, great. I love it when I get beat because it means that I've done my job very well. So, thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Any other closing thoughts, Seth?
One thing I do want to kind of close down on, and I've talked a lot about attitude here, and I've talked about a lot of things. I don't want it to ever come off in this that I am kicking a man while he is down. I would have liked this set to be more even. I would like Renzel to learn and grow better, and I want you all to learn and grow better. When some of the coaches here, sometimes we may come off as harsh. Sometimes we may come off as, some of the things we may say may not be the thing you want to hear. There's not a single coach in New Challenger who wants to see you fail. There's not a single person in Beginner Breakdowns. There's not a single person in the Discord who wants to see you fail. And when you come to us for help and when you come for us for questions, it's the reason I'm here. The reason a lot of us are here is to help you, is just to help the community get better. And, because I thank you for having me on to fill a chair if it's needed. If anyone has questions about the lore matchup, if anyone has questions for me, just general attitude questions, general mental questions, I'm Seth Series on Twitter. I'm Seth Series on the Discord. Please come to me. I will do my best to help you. I'm here, helping people here has given me a new life for this game. Me a better appreciation on how to better myself. And I just want to thank the people here for giving me this opportunity, and I want to thank the people here for letting me help you.
All right. On that very super positive note, seriously, stay positive, everybody, and have a good night.
We are super posy here, but everyone have a good night.